Oh, there's a nice corner. It's just so much fun round corners, little roundabout. Hello, and a warm welcome from me and from Pepe, the mighty 205 that has finally arrived. I actually went and saw this car just before lockdown, but there were a couple of issues and the sellers agreed to sort those out before we exchanged. And in the meantime, lockdown happened, so it's been about 6 weeks or something along those lines till I finally managed to get hold of him, and I'm really excited about that. This is one of those cars that I've always wanted. It is what I would describe as an honest car. I didn't want a minter, I wanted something that I could use, and I'll explain why in a minute. But Pepe has 150,000 miles, so he's a bit leggy, but he's had an engine rebuild, which was one of the things that appealed to me, because hopefully at least the engine will be trouble-free going on. You might think that I'm totally mental going from a modern BMW as a daily to this little hatch, but there is actually some logic in it if you think about it. So my Beamer cost me £2,000 to run for a year in terms of depreciation, new tyres, servicing, bits that went wrong with the wheel sensor, other stuff like that. And in the next years that will slow down a bit in depreciation, but not that much. It's going to keep dropping quite a bit. This little hatch was just $5,750. Well, I say just, it's quite a lot of money for what it is, but it's a lot less than the 16 grand that the Beamer was worth. So it's going to depreciate, hopefully not very much at all. On top of that, the insurance for the BMW was £500 a year, more or less. Insurance for this is 95 quid a year, which is just brilliant. So there's a bit of a saving there. And with the depreciation, I'm also hoping that really, if nothing major goes wrong, it will actually end up costing me less than the BMW and be more fun. But I do use a car a few times a week to get to and from work, and this will be what I will be relying on. Now, considering that I've also got that Ferrari 308 that I bought, the cheap one at auction, that I've been doing work on, I'm not doing that well in terms of reliable cars, getting a 1990s French hot hatch, but I think it will be all right, and I'll have to sort through any issues just as I have with the Ferrari and with the Sprite and with the other cars that I've had. When I first went up to see it, there were a couple of problems. First of all, it didn't actually start. So, well, it did start, but it took a lot of winding up before it actually got going. And Tom replaced, I think it's a starter relay or injection relay, or I don't know what it was, I can't remember now, but he replaced something and then sent me a video of him going every day and starting it up to show that the car was doing all right, which is great. The other problem was that there was some moisture just under the front carpet there. Now, the boys had sort of done a bit of rebuilding in the car, and there's been some respraying going on as well. So they thought it was maybe leftover water from previously when the sunroof was leaking. Tom had a look and it looked like it was coming through the door seal. He hosed it down, showed me it was dry, and then eventually the car was ready to go. Let's take a quick look round it and I'll tell you a little bit more about this very car. So, it's a 1991 205 GTI 1.9. It's a limited edition car in this amazing Miami blue, which I absolutely adore. It's one of the last cars that they built before they started using catalytic converters, which knocked about 15 horsepower off. That is a really good thing, and just look at what an amazingly brilliant little design it is. It's just so right, like the balance between aggression and just good looks. The interiors are all right, sort of typical plasticky 80s, 90s. The seats are actually not in too bad a nick considering the mileage. I don't know if they're original or what's happened, but they've sort of, whatever they are, they've survived. The leather is really plasticky and it doesn't feel very nice, and I think they've had some stitching and stuff, but actually they're really not in that bad nick. So I'll give them a clean and see if there's anything else I can do to improve them, but for now, no big changes there. And the interior is, I'd say, it's all right actually, it's not bad. Tom replaced a couple of bits in the center console and the carpets, I think, before he sent it over to me, so thanks Tom. pretty much everything seems to work apart from the wash wipe, I think. Generally speaking, pretty good, I think, for a car of this vintage. I haven't managed to get the radio to work yet. It does do something, but maybe it needs the code putting in, which the guys gave me. I remember these cars from the days when I was a student, and there was someone in our school who dated one of the girls, but was an older boy. And he had a white one of these with a body kit on it, and actually I didn't particularly like the body kit, but these just looked, 205 GTIs always just looked so right. Plus the legendary reputation they have as the best handling hatch of all time. Now a lot of people will say that's not true, it was the Golf, blah blah blah. I think this probably is the best handling ever. Now that I've finally got one, what are my first sort of thoughts in coming into contact with it? Well, I had of course driven it briefly when I went to have a look at it originally. It is a real culture shock from a modern car. Now there's a reason why I traded in, well I didn't trade in, I sold my M135i and bought this instead. The M135i, although it's the most interesting out of the modern hot hatches and incredibly capable at almost everything it does, it's really rather dull. You have to drive it really, really quickly and always on the edge to get any satisfaction from it or any feel. And the steering is just so dead and lifeless. So I came into this. And of course, the quality, I don't need to make apologies for it because it is what it is. But let me just say one thing to make you understand. This makes the 308, the Ferrari 308, feel like a quality item. I've never been in anything quite as flimsy. The closest is possibly the Lancia Delta Integrale that I had previously. That was also pretty flimsy, but not quite as bad as this. And I had Fiat Unos before, Fiat Puntos, and this is definitely a league ahead. It feels like you could just tear the door off with your hand if you wanted to. But let's leave that aside. In terms of how it feels on first acquaintance, the driving position is actually quite weird. Everyone always talks about the Italian cars having the sort of long arm, short legs, but this is totally a prime example of that, more than any other Italian car that I've ever driven. Pedals are also really small and really oddly located, so with my massive feet, size 11s, I do struggle a bit. The good thing is that you can heel and toe really easily. You can brake and blip the throttle, perfectly placed for that. But in everyday sort of driving, it's a bit of a fiddle really, trying to get those small pedals. So all in all, driving position, not amazing. It just feels like I'm going to get a spacer maybe. Do they make them for these? I'm sure you guys know, please let me know. And pull the wheel a bit closer so I can move a bit further back. The engine is a really eager, revvy little thing. Totally in character with the car's little image as a sort of eager puppy. And the front end is just amazing. And it's such a, the contrast with my M135i couldn't be any more different. That had totally dead lifeless steering that along on the centre just did absolutely nothing. This feels really, really natural. Super happy to change direction, and if you move it from a millimetre from centre, the car changes position. It's fantastic. It's just so tenacious and lovely around corners. It's just brilliant. It is just brilliant. So much fun. Now that I've driven it, let's talk about the problems that have become apparent for this particular car. As far as I know from Tom, I'm sure he said that the rear beam had been rebuilt when they sort of went over the car and did the engine and so on, but changing direction and going from left to right, it didn't do it there. It's more on tighter corners like roundabouts, so you can hear it clacking in the back, almost as if there was like a tyre jack or something like that loose in the boot, but of course there's nothing in the boot. So I wonder if it is something with the rear beam. Let me know what you think, because it's really annoying. It's a solid clack going. If you tip the car into a corner, it clacks, and from one way to the other. The other thing is there's some slack in the driveline. Ah, there's a nice corner. It's just so much fun round corners, little roundabout. Throttle's really jumpy, these early injection systems. It just clings on. Fun, fun, fun. What was I saying? Yes, driveline shunt, which is made worse. So the throttle is very... It's really hard to meter on and off to make it smooth, and I think the early injection systems, like the ones that this car had, are renowned for that. So I don't think that's a problem with this particular car, but there's a lot of driveline shunt. And I don't know what that is. I don't know, maybe I would have guessed something like engine mounts or gearbox mounts. The gearbox and the engine is one unit on this, I think. So maybe the mounts, but certainly on takeoff from stationary, it feels like something in there is loose. Something's not quite right. So I'm gonna have to have a look at that. When I get home, I'll put it on stands and I'll have a good look around and a dig around underneath, see what the general condition is, see if there's anything else that needs work as well. Time to take a quick look underneath and see what we can find there. Okay, there's the rear beam. So, first glance, it all looks okay. So obviously had some under seal put on at some point, and all looks fairly tidy. At the front we'll have a look there. There are a couple of bits that have had a bit of repairs, but to be expected on these cars. See if we can recreate that clacking noise. Nothing much on that side. The only thing I have found so far is that mount there, that's got quite a few threads showing. That suspension arm mount, whereas on this side there are, it's almost flush, so I'm wondering if this, it doesn't feel loose of course, but that doesn't mean it isn't. But apart from that, I can't really figure out what else it could be. Everything else seems tight. It's going to be a weird one, this click-clacking sound. Let's have a look around the front. So these, I don't know what Peugeot first envisaged. This is under the driver and passenger floors, and they're like little bubbles. Maybe it was for stiffness or whatever. They regularly get jacked up on and crashed, and that's what's happened to these. And I think there's been some rust there, and the guys have done a little bit. The floors, as I'll show you in a minute, have been welded a little bit as well. Just going to fill it with anti-rust stuff, but it's a typical thing to happen, and that's on both sides of the car. Let's have a look on the other side as well. So yeah, again, they tried to pull it out as much as possible. I mean, it doesn't feel too bad actually. And then they've just under sealed it. But there has been some rust that's gone through the floor there. So you can see, this is directly under the area that I've just shown you, and this has obviously been patched on top. I'm not sure why it's so deformed here. But anyway, that has been patched on top, and this is where the water was sitting before. Lovely to see now it's completely dry, and apparently the water was coming in through this seal because there was a little carpet grabber thing that was raising it a little bit. Unbelievable what something like that can do. Also, there is a leak of some kind. It's not big, but you can see on the floor it doesn't look like oil, but I'm not sure what it is. It might be coolant. So under the front of the car now, you can see that there is a bit of wetness. So that subframe there is pretty oily, and there's a few drops, especially it seems from the gearbox. So the drive shaft on this side is fine, but you can see a bit of oil around those bolts, around the filler, around here. I'm not sure where it's coming from. This is coming from this sump seal, I think. Apart from that, it looks good though. All the various bushes are pretty new, so it looks okay under there. And the sills, generally, I haven't mentioned those before, but the sills look okay. Not pristine, but they don't look, there's nothing particularly worrying there. So quite happy with that. Pretty pleased with old Pepe on the whole then. There's a few things that need some attention and that I'd like to sort out. That driveline sort of shunt looseness that I'm feeling, I can't find anything, but if you have any ideas, let me know about that. That rear click-clacking noise that's coming from the back end, I checked again with the sellers and the beam has been rebuilt and it all looks fine there, and I couldn't find anything specific, so any ideas on that would be really appreciated. I want to try and improve the general appearance a little bit, tidy it up, so some of those dents, so any good sort of dent pullers, suction cups, whatever you would recommend, be great to know for small dents. I might want to get those seats recovered at some point, that would be quite a nice thing. I want to give these plastics a bit of a treatment just to freshen them up. I'm sure the guys did it before as well, but I've got some stuff which is really good and we'll do that in another video. And that will be, I think that will make a big difference. And then lastly, those bits of trim that have faded, that are sort of painted black, I'm going to paint those. So there are quite a few little bits and bobs that I want to do. And please let me know your advice. I think I want to lower it a tiny bit. I don't want to go anything, I don't want to slam it, I don't want to ruin the handling or anything else, but I just want to do a little bit. What are the options out there, like in terms of lowering springs at the front and at the back with that weird beam? How do you lower these? I'd have no idea how that works, so let me know in the comments as well. Thank you all loads for watching. Really exciting to have another iconic car in the 3-car fleet now, and I'll see you for the next one.